This one is from Lennius. This is the one you had sent me via email. It is on page 73 of Gospel Fictions. Randall Helms has the fig tree story begin with like and then get embellished by Mark. I guess he means begin with Luke and then get embellished by Mark. How is this possible since Mark is Luke's source? Does this make Helms' case pretty ad hoc since he has to flip the embellishment hypothesis in this one case?
Well, he may have put this in a slightly misleading way. I think he knows enough about source criticism, as you say, as you imply in the question, that he's probably just giving us a shorthand account of the kind of thing that T.W. Manson and other scholars used to say when they point out that it appears that Luke often had a different version of some of the same stories that appeared in Mark, and that perhaps he had even used his version plus the Q material to create his original work, which we call Proto-Luke, and that when somebody showed him a copy of Mark, he simply added quite a bit of the material that was very different than what he had, but he also found that there were doublets where he felt he better choose one version of the other. Now, no one can ever really determine, I think, whether that is true, whether he had two versions, which implies it's already been embellished before either of them got to him, or whether he changed one. And Helms is speaking as if he changed it, but I have a hunch he means, or at least you could plug the hole in this theory by taking the Manson approach and saying, no, you see what happened was Luke's source, the L source, for want of a better tag, simply had a more extravagant version. Had the straighter, simpler version, and that Mark's gospel had picked it up from a later stage of transmission when it had been embellished, so that even though Luke is the later book than the final product, it used some material that was earlier than material that Mark had, since Luke was using, on this theory, more than two, but at least two earlier sources, Mark and the L source. And so that Mark was more embellished than the same version in the L source. So either I think Helms is just sort of glossing over that, or is perhaps just confused momentarily, as they say, napping. But I don't think it hurts his theory. You can easily show his principle of this tendency toward embellishment is certainly working, even if it's source critically a little more complicated than he says. But I think Helms's book, Gospel Fictions, is really terrific, and everybody ought to get it.
Well, the crowd really likes those answers. It's pretty amazing. It's almost like a Monty Python bit where they switch to a big football stadium.